The Midwestern region was a division of Nigeria in 1963. It was formed from Benin and Delta provinces, with Benin City as its capital. In 1976, it was formally called Bendel State. The year 1986 will be one that will always be remembered in Nigerian history as a year of many tragedies for both the Nigerian forces for its loss and the terror the residents of Bendel State had to experience in the hands of a notorious robber and his gang. You may have heard of him as he goes by many names. Some call him the Law, others call him Ovigbo. He is Lawrence Anini. A lot of things happened in 1960, notable things. Nigeria got her independence. Sir Nnamdi Azikiwe became the first indigenous governor-general. The uprising thief riot began that same year, and one of Nigeria's most infamous criminals was born. Lawrence Anini was born on the 29th of March in 1960 in Orogo village of the Oramoan local government area. It is approximately 30 kilometers from current-day Edo State. He was the second child and only son of his mother, and it would later be discovered that his father had a son with another woman. Anini's story started after he moved to Benin City with the intention of becoming a taxi driver, one that operated within the city. Apparently, dreams do come true, and despite his young age, he had quite the influence and a say in interest in how things were wrong among the motor park area boys. Anini's personality could be described as a man of little guts and a few to many bad habits. Based on the book The Rise and Fall of Anini by Charles Enonchong, Anini was described as thus, and I quote, "He particularly enjoyed wearing impeccably tailored suits, a spendthrift and a womanizer," unquote. The author went on to describe Anini, and I quote, "But there was also a hidden coward in him. For that reason, to bolster his courage, he took refuge in alcohol, marijuana, and a menagerie of charms which all inspired the beast in him," unquote. Despite Anini's lack of formal education, Anini was reported to have written numerous letters to media houses, portraying himself as the person with a hero complex. Anini's criminal journey started after he diverted his driving skills into crime and started out his new journey as the getaway driver for Benin bandits operating within the area. This would be a learning curve for him and the foundation for his new career, and shortly after, he set up his own gang, and it was made up of Monday Osumbo, the bloodthirsty deputy, Solomon Osemenkwe, John Bull Ahuwan, Moses Idahosa, Philip Iwebulua, Bernard Obi, and Friday Upongwan. The gang started their path as sky hijackers and armed robbers, attacking both buses and banks. He was quite the character because he was nicknamed the Outlaw King of Benin by the media. Anini's criminal escapades peaked in the early 1980s, and the people of Bendel lived in fear and panic, and rightfully so. He and his gang were notorious in their dealings as they killed, kidnapped, raped, and even going as far as attacking the convoy of a police commissioner and an inspector general of police. It should be noted that despite Anini not having any formal education, he was smart and witty enough to defy all security measures put in place. And while that may have been true, it should also be known that he allegedly had some officers on payroll. These officers would often give sensitive information, and this would make it difficult for the police to make an arrest, and would also be said to be the alleged reason for his 4-month rampage against the police before he was finally apprehended in December of 1986. Anini's 4-month rampage, which lasted from August to December, was alleged to have been as a result of the compromised police officers who had been under Anini's payroll. They were to suppress evidence in an ongoing case involving members of his gang, but the deal did not yield the desired result. This so-called betrayal resulted in the loss of 2 of his gang members due to their refusal to destroy evidence, despite having received their agreed-upon settlement. Anini was so outraged. And on August 1986, Anini and his gang embarked on a 4-month terror rampage that would go down in history as one of the most tragic crime cases in Nigeria. The beginning of his terror was marked by the attack on First Bank located in Sabongida Ora in Edo State. In this operation, they successfully parted with $2,000 and sadly, a policeman and others were killed. In that same month, 2 police officers were reportedly shot dead while on duty at a barricade while trying to stop Anini's car, and in the span of 3 months, he was noted to have killed 9 police officers. On the 6th of September of the same year, Anini and his gang snatched a Peugeot 504 from Albert Otoye, the driver of the then Assistant Inspector General of Police, Christopher Omeben. During the course of the robbery, the driver was killed and his corpse was hidden. The skeleton of the driver would be discovered 3 months later, 16 kilometers away from Benin. Following his previous attacks, Anini's men reportedly killed 2 policemen in Orion local government area, and it was still reported that 3 more robbery attacks with Anini's involvement happened that same month. A day after, Anini was said to have thrown wads of cash on the ground, and this will earn him the heart of the people, giving him the nickname Robin Hood. With the frequency and intensity of his crime, the then head of state, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, didn't fail to take notice of Anini's activities. He was quoted to have asked the then Inspector General, Etim Iyang of Police, and I quote, "My friend, where is Anini?" unquote. He became an urban legend and all sorts of rumors swirled about him. The more the police hunted and intensified their search for him, the more popular he got. Finally, on the 3rd of December 1986, after a manhunt launched by a 10-man team of policemen led by Superintendent Kayode Omonaruru, Anini was caught at number 26, Oyemusa Street, opposite Igodala Primary School. Acting on a tip-off, invaded the house and apprehended him. His arrest is quite interesting to say the least. It is said that the police, upon reaching the residence, Anini was the one who answered the door. He was dressed in an underwear, and when asked by the police where Anini was, he was a bit dazed but calmed down. He claimed that Anini was inside and hiding underneath the bed. And while saying this, he tried walking past the team of police. Things got rough shortly after, and Anini went on to receive a bullet in the ankle. However, his tragedy did not stop there. He was shot some more severely on the same leg, and was asked again, and I quote, "Are you Anini?" unquote, and he replied, and I quote, "My brother, I won't deceive you. I won't tell you lie. I'm Anini," unquote. Anini was quoted to have blamed the murders of his victim on his deputy, Monday Osumbo, and I quote, "I only threaten people for money. I don't shoot people. It is Monday that kills," unquote. In another quote, Anini said, and I quote, "I did not kill police. My own is to do my own. I am a driver. I drive. I always beg them not to kill police, not to kill people. My problem is that them kill my father and brother at Ibadan and my friend Kingsway Weka," unquote. Anini's arrest was received with mixed feelings due to his status in the heart of some of the locals as a Robin Hood. His arrest wasn't a particularly pleasant one to everyone. The Guardian newspaper wasn't pleased with the manner of his arrest, mostly for humanitarian reasons, calling his arrest as brutal and unfortunate. Their dissatisfaction was expressed in an editorial that was released on the 13th of December of 1986, and I quote, "The state has the duty to protect even a notoriously bad man. It cannot be said that the force used on Anini was reasonable. It was patently brutal and unfortunate," unquote. Due to obvious disregard by the force for Anini's well-being, he was transferred to a military hospital and had one of his legs amputated. Military head Ibrahim Babangida demanded a swift trial, and after delivering a long 80-minute judgment, Anini was convicted of most of his charges, including armed robbery and possession and use of firearms. In February 1987, Anini was sentenced by Justice James Omoagege, the chairman of the first Benin Robbery and Firearms Tribunal, after which he gave a statement, and I quote, Anini will forever be remembered in the history of crime in this country, but it would be of unblessed memory, unquote. And on the 29th of March of the same year, he, along his deputy Osumbo, was publicly executed by the means of firing squad. It was reported by the Associated Press, and I quote, "Thousands of people from all walks in Bendel State today watched the public execution of the notorious armed robber, Lawrence Anini and Monday Osumbo in Benin," unquote. And that is the story of Lawrence Anini. There isn't much in regard to the name of his victims. It is said that this story has been told and will continue to be told, and sadly, without the names of those who tragically lost their lives. This story is particularly interesting because it is one of the first of its kind. We pray for the victims. May their gentle souls rest in peace and their families recover this loss. And even though we don't know them, we haven't forgotten them and pray for a peaceful eternal rest for every single one of them. If you want more of Nigerian crime stories, you should consider hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell. Stay safe and stay